Emma often said their marriage felt like a calm lake, beautiful, steady, and quiet, but deep inside, she sensed the water no longer moved. She and Daniel had been married for 7 years, living in a modest home near Seattle where mornings smelled of coffee and evenings ended early. From the outside, they looked perfect, polite smiles, shared routines, respectful conversations. But routine had slowly replaced curiosity, and comfort had taken the place of wonder. Emma woke up early every day, liking the silence before the world stirred, while Daniel stayed up late, listening to soft music and thinking about unfinished ideas. They loved each other, yes, but love had become something they handled carefully, like fragile glass. They avoided hard questions, avoided surprise, avoided anything that might shake the balance they had built. One evening in early fall, when rain brushed softly against the windows and the sky felt heavy, Emma realized they had gone an entire day without really seeing each other. They spoke about groceries, work emails, and weekend plans, but not about feelings, dreams, or fears. Daniel noticed it too, though he didn't say it right away. He watched Emma move around the kitchen, efficient and distant, and felt a quiet sadness settle in his chest. He missed the early days when conversations lasted until midnight and silence felt meaningful instead of empty. That night, as they sat together on the couch, the room filled with the sound of rain and the low hum of the heater, Daniel broke the pattern. He spoke calmly but honestly, saying he felt they were doing everything right but feeling less alive together. Emma was surprised, not because she disagreed, but because someone finally said it out loud. Her heart beat faster as she admitted she felt the same, that their marriage felt safe but dull, loving but predictable. There was no anger in the room, only a shared fear of slowly drifting apart without realizing when it happened. Daniel then said something unexpected, something that cut through the quiet like a spark. What if they stopped trying to fit into what a marriage was supposed to look like and started talking about what they truly wanted, even if it sounded strange? Emma felt nervous but curious. She had always believed love meant stability, but maybe it also needed movement. As the rain grew heavier outside, they sat closer, not touching, but emotionally awake for the first time in a long while. Neither of them knew where this conversation would lead, but both felt the same thing: a door had opened, and stepping through it might change everything. After that night, something shifted between Emma and Daniel, and the quiet distance that once felt heavy now carried tension and hope at the same time. They began talking more, not in long dramatic talks, but in honest moments that came naturally, while washing dishes, during evening walks, or sitting across from each other with coffee growing cold between them. Emma spoke first about how she missed feeling chosen, how she wanted to feel seen without having to ask, how small gestures mattered more to her than big plans. Daniel listened carefully, not to reply, but to understand, and then he shared his own truth. He felt closest when there was space to breathe, when connection came from intention instead of habit. He explained that he sometimes needed distance to feel desire again, not because he loved her less, but because he wanted to come back to her with purpose. These ideas felt risky, even uncomfortable, but they kept talking instead of pulling back. They decided to test their honesty in simple ways. Some evenings, they agreed not to fill the silence with noise or screens, letting quiet exist without fear. Other times, they spent short weekends doing separate things, Emma visiting her sister, Daniel going on long drives, then writing letters to each other instead of texting. The first letter Emma received made her hands shake. It was thoughtful, warm, and full of emotion Daniel rarely spoke out loud. She found herself reading it twice, then smiling alone in the kitchen. Daniel, waiting for her reply, felt a nervous excitement he hadn't felt in years. When her letter arrived, it reminded him why he fell in love with her calm strength and quiet depth. Slowly, the space between them stopped feeling like distance and started feeling like anticipation. Their reunions, even after just a day apart, felt more alive. They talked with more care, listened with more focus, and laughed more easily. Still, doubt lived beneath the surface. Emma sometimes worried that this new way of loving might break what they had protected for so long. Daniel feared pushing too far and losing her trust. But instead of hiding these worries, they named them. treating fear as part of the process rather than a sign to stop. Each choice they made was gentle and intentional, and with every honest exchange, the spark between them grew brighter, not wild or reckless, but steady and real, leaving both of them wondering if this strange honesty might be exactly what their marriage needed to survive and grow. Winter arrived quickly, and with it came a deeper test for the fragile balance Emma and Daniel were building. The excitement of change had settled into something more serious, and that seriousness brought fear. One quiet night, when snow covered the streets and the house felt colder than usual, Emma finally said what had been growing in her heart. She asked if this new way of loving was only working because they were pretending not to need each other, if the space they created might one day turn into real distance. Her voice was calm, but her eyes held worry. Daniel felt the weight of her question and took his time before answering. He told her that need was not the problem, silence was, and that choosing each other again and again was stronger than holding on out of fear. His words comforted her, but doubt did not disappear completely. They continued their routines, now more aware of every moment, every choice. Their connection felt deeper, yet more fragile, like something alive that needed care. Then an unexpected opportunity came. Daniel was offered a short work assignment in Vancouver. It was temporary, practical, and important for his career, but the timing felt cruel. Emma smiled and encouraged him, hiding the ache in her chest. That night, alone in their bedroom, she wondered if this was the real test of everything they believed in. Daniel packed slowly, feeling torn between responsibility and the quiet fear of losing what they had just found. Before leaving, he wrote her a letter, not long, but honest, promising presence even in absence. The days apart were harder than either expected. Emma moved through her routine, but the house felt empty in a new way. She read Daniel's letter more than once, holding on to his words during lonely evenings. Daniel, in unfamiliar rooms and busy days, felt the absence of Emma's calm more sharply than before. They talked when they could, but mostly they waited, trusting the space they had learned to respect. Each day apart stretched their patience and tested their faith in love that didn't rely on constant closeness. Fear whispered to both of them, but so did hope, and as the weeks passed, they realized that missing each other deeply did not weaken their bond. It revealed how real it had become. Daniel returned on a gray afternoon when the sky looked tired, and Emma stood by the window longer than she expected, not rushing, letting the moment arrive on its own. When he walked through the door, there was no dramatic hug, no sudden rush of emotion, only a quiet pause where both of them looked at each other and felt the weight of everything they had lived through while apart. They sat at the kitchen table, hands close but not touching at first, talking about small things, traffic, weather, work, until the deeper feelings slowly surfaced without force. Emma admitted the distance had been painful but honest, that she learned how deeply she cared without losing herself. Daniel shared how the time away made him realize that choosing love every day mattered more than comfort. They listened without interrupting, without fear, without trying to win. The spark they feared losing had not faded, it had changed into something warmer and steadier. Over the next days, their routine returned, but it no longer felt empty. Morning coffee carried meaning, quiet evenings felt shared instead of distant, and even silence felt full. They laughed more easily, spoke more clearly, and when problems appeared, they faced them instead of avoiding them. Emma understood that love did not mean holding tightly, it meant trusting enough to let go and come back stronger. Daniel learned that freedom inside love did not weaken commitment, it deepened it. Their strange preferences were no longer strange to them, they were simply truths they honored. There were still doubts, still hard days, still moments of fear, but now those moments were met with honesty instead of silence. One evening, as they walked together under soft streetlights, Emma rested her head on Daniel's shoulder and said she felt alive again. Daniel smiled, knowing the feeling was shared. Their marriage was not perfect, but it was real, chosen, and awake. They had not found love again by changing who they were, but by finally allowing themselves to be fully known, and in that choice, the spark they feared losing became a steady fire they both knew how to protect.